Good evening. Welcome to the 401 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. My name is Leon Jones, and this is the last video for the year of 2023 on the 401 Talk Zone radio show. And we're going to continue the scam series into 2024 because there are lots of scams out there. And one of the ones that I'm going to focus on tonight is the tax preparer scam. Now, earlier I did one on the credit repair. Now, it is a big hustle to do income taxes, and this is going to be good coming up because a lot of people will be receiving income tax checks at the end of January all the way into April or beyond if they require an extension. Now, when it comes to taxes, there's a few ways you can do them yourself. You understand how to do the easiest one if you have no itemized deductions. It's the 1040 EZ. Now, there are legitimate tax preparer services like Liberty Taxes. I always thought Liberty Taxes was a hood tax company, but that's a pretty large corporation. You got Jackson Hewitt, you have H&R Block, and you even have the information like TurboTax. I use TurboTax because you get a lot of good itemized deductions with TurboTax. Now, why am I saying all this? Well, because there are vulnerable people who don't know how to do taxes. And you also have a number of people who are setting up a tax preparation business and they're scamming their clients. See, here's what I'm going to tell you. The reason why you should learn how to do your own taxes is so you don't have to pay anybody to do them for you. And you don't have to worry about who's going to be legitimate and who isn't. Now, there are a lot of tax preparation services out there that aren't legitimate. And I'm going to say, if you run into that, the first person you should check into when it comes to tax preparation is a CPA, because they know all of the tax laws and they're also registered to do taxes. Now, the issue with tax preparation is that you have a number of individuals who aren't CPAs, and they can charge a heck of a lot of money just to do your taxes for you. Now, what you need to understand about tax preparation businesses is, what's the name of this business? Who's in charge of the business? What's the TIN number, which is the tax ID number? Does this tax preparation service, do they have a logo? Because just because you have somebody who has been doing taxes for a while, do you take debit cards, credit cards? Now, I say that because a debit card, credit card, they leave a paper trail. But if you're doing an all cash business, you can scam the customers and get up and go somewhere else. Let's get into some information here about tax preparer fraud. Tax preparer fraud. And again, we're coming up to it. And what are we coming up to? It's called tax season. So when tax season rolls around, over 50% of American taxpayers opt to have their taxes done by using professional tax preparer services in hopes that it will give them a more accurate and more fruitful tax return. Now, while there are many, many reputable tax preparers out there, there are a few less than reputable ones out there as well. So It may come to you as a surprise, but according to Treasury.gov, there are a large number of organizations and individuals who pose as legitimate tax businesses in order to scam people out of their money and leave them in a world of legal trouble. Now, tax preparer fraud is the dark side to the world of professional tax practitioners. So, if you are looking to enlist the help of a professional this upcoming tax season, you need to learn everything. And the way you learn it is you read about it so you don't become a victim to a destructive scam known as tax preparation fraud. Now, what is tax preparation fraud? Well, tax preparation fraud is when you have the person who is preparing your taxes, and it basically typically occurs when a person who is working on your taxes is posing as a qualified tax preparer excessively, and they illegally claim deductions and credits on your behalf to inflate your tax return. So what happens is, in return, they charge you a percentage of your total return as a fee for their services. So these tax preparers then take their fee and run, leaving you to deal with the consequences. Now, what are the consequences? Well, there is a chance that you could be audited. There's also a chance that you may owe more taxes because of the inflation of your tax deduction, so you get a bigger refund check. Now, here's how it works. Fraudulent taxpayers operate under the guise of qualified and trustworthy tax professionals. They front as a legitimate business and advertise in public spaces such as community centers, churches, and more. What they do is promise you big returns, legally, of course. While they appear to be legit, they're much less. So basically, once you've handed all of your tax information and agreed to pay their fee, which is always based on a percentage of your return, they'll begin their illegal behavior. Unbeknownst to you, these fraudsters excessively claim credits, deductions, exemptions, and more on your behalf. For example, your taxes could claim deductions and tax credits for charitable donations, children, or student loan payments without your knowledge. And when it comes time to submit, the tax preparers will file on your behalf without giving you the chance to look over your return. They don't sign as the tax preparer on your tax return or include their tax preparer identification number, leaving you to look like the fraudulent filer. So by the time you realize you cannot go back to review your tax return, and you also find out that your tax return contains false information, these tax preparers are long gone and never to be seen again. Fraudulent tax preparers operate on two basic facts. First, taxpayers must often hire tax professionals because they trust that the tax professional is reputable and responsible. Second, the IRS will always hold the taxpayer responsible for their tax return, whether it is completed by a professional or not. And I'm just going to say this: you should find a tax preparer that you can trust. So if you are seeking assistance with the completion, let me go over that again. If you are seeking assistance with the completion and filing of your income taxes, it is imperative that you are both careful and discerning when it comes to choosing your tax preparer. I don't choose any tax preparer. I do my own taxes. I run the 1040 with paper and pencil, and then I transpose all the numbers onto TurboTax. So first thing is first, how do you choose a tax preparer? Well, when it comes to choosing a tax preparer, there are a few red flags that indicate your prospective preparer might be a fraud. These include, and always the biggest one is the too good to be true syndrome, and that's the promise of a larger refund than other tax preparers can get you. Remember, reputable tax preparers will never try to lure you in with a deal that sounds too good to be true. Also, a fee that's based on a percentage of your tax return. This suggests a tax preparer may be willing to commit fraud to inflate their paycheck. Something I said at the beginning of this video. How do you pay? Do you pay by credit card or debit card? And why did I say that? That's because they create a paper trail. But this next statement, cash. Now, a lot of you hoodsters, they accept cash. Why do they accept cash? Because cash can't be traced. Cash payment. A reputable tax preparer will never require you to pay in cash. Only a fraudster will be. Why? Again, you can't trace it, and once they have your cash, they're gone. Solicitation. Fraudulent taxpayers often set up shop in busy areas to solicit customers. They also may knock door to door or contact you by phone to solicit your business. Now, in addition to what I just told you, it's always important to verify your tax preparer and their work. So here's what you need to ask for when it comes to the following information. It's called a P10. A P10 is a tax preparer identification number. You see, every qualified taxpayer will have a registered identification number with the IRS. So you can check and cross-reference this number on the IRS tax return prepared directly. Again, I said directly. And how is it directly? By using the IRS tax return prepare directory. Now, if they have a number and they file a fraudulent tax return on your behalf, you will be able to provide their number during a criminal investigation. Number two, when it comes to doing any taxes, whether you're doing them yourself, before you submit any documentation of a completed tax return, review your return. Why? Because before you allow someone who might be questionable to file your return, you need to take a look at their work. Make sure there aren't any false tax credits claimed on your tax return, and never sign a blank tax form under any circumstance. Also, most tax returns come via your bank. And what do I mean by that? Direct deposit. A lot of them, yet some checks do come out, but most of the people are depositing the funds right into your account. So what do you have to do? Verify the direct deposit information. Now, how do you do that? Well, each bank, believe it or not, has a reference number. Like mine is Navy Federal Credit Union. So if they need to verify that it is Navy Federal Credit Union, the reference number is 256097474. That's what it is. They're going to ask for that 9-digit number. Now, if you opt to receive your refund by direct deposit, you must also ensure that it is your bank account and routing number, not theirs. And let me make a correction. I said reference number. The 256094794, that's what it is. That is the routing number for Navy Federal Credit Union. And of course, different accounts have numbers as well. So when you are verifying the direct deposit information, it's your direct deposit information. That's what your bank routing number, and that's what your accounting or account number. And your bank account could be your checking or savings. Now, I will say this, it won't always be easy to tell, so it's best to stick with recognizable companies who have verified reviews on Google, Yelp, and the Better Business Bureau. Now, what if everything has been done? Your return has been completed. What if a tax preparer stole your money? Well, if you've been a target of fraudulent preparation and by filing your taxes with a scammer, don't panic. While it is a stressful experience, never lose hope. While the responsibility of a fraudulent tax return, it does fall on the shoulders of a taxpayer, the IRS recognizes that innocent people can become victims, and they will issue the tax preparer penalties too, only if they find them. Because if it's a cash business, they're long gone. Now, here are some essential steps that you need to take if a fraudulent tax preparer has taken advantage of you. Report it to the IRS. Report any illegal dealing to the IRS fraud prevention hotline as soon as you become aware, because stealing someone's tax information is a serious criminal offense and it must be reported to the police. So what you do is gather any documentation of your financial dealings with the fraudulent tax preparer and make sure you get copies of the police report as well. Now, you do this because once, and when it comes to scams, it all leads back to this same issue. Once they've stolen from you, they've now stolen your identity. So when I told you about the direct deposit information, make sure it's your direct deposit information, not theirs. But what they can do, if they use their direct deposit information to commit fraud, they can have your refund check deposited into their checking account with their direct deposit ID number off of your name. And something you need to know, when your identity is stolen, the IRS will issue you a unique PIN number that can be used to file your taxes and further protect your identity. And what you do is the complaint is a Form 3949A. It's an information referral that you should file with the IRS as a victim of false preparation and filing. If you file a tax preparer complaint, this will provide the IRS with any information about the fake business and or the individual who has filed your fraudulent tax returns in addition to the tax violation. Also, get your bank involved. You must report it to your bank. In many tax fraud situations, a report is often the least of a tax preparer's worries. Fraudulent tax preparers may take a step further by using your social security number and personal information to open credit cards and bank accounts. Make sure you inform your bank and any other major financial institutions whom you do business with about your circumstances. Now we get into the resolution. Now, as daunting as this task may seem, recovering from income tax fraud is possible with the help of a qualified tax professional. Getting back on your feet might be quicker and easier than you previously thought. Now, life doesn't pause because someone has fraudulently filed your tax returns or stolen your identity. Rely on the help, again, of a CPA, tax attorney, or tax representative to take the stress and weight of the IRS off your shoulders. That's what I'm saying. If you really have a problem with taxes, get an attorney, a CPA. It's going to cost some money, but I'd rather pay somebody to have the stress and weight of the IRS off of my shoulders, because I don't want the IRS coming to me, because if something criminal happens, I'm going to be liable. And also, if you've been a victim of tax preparation fraud, there are many companies out there that can help you. Again, community tax, that's one that does have the resources. And the resources are CPAs, tax attorneys, and tax representatives. And they're looking to help you. And if you don't understand anything about taxes, the best thing to do is take a 1040 if you're just going to do a 1040. Because I learned a lot of my information from doing YouTube videos. I've also seen YouTube videos on how to do a 1040 the correct way. I always believe that it's best to get a blank form, do all the numbers on a regular paper form, and then you can put the numbers in TurboTax or any of those other online systems. Why? Because see, those online systems will tell you what you got wrong and how to correct it. Because you can't submit until all the errors are corrected when you do it online. Now what I'm going to do is get into some videos for educational purposes, so fair use, about tax preparation scams. Just bear with me. Fair use. Fair use here. Let me share my sound. And let's go to this first one. Fair use.
Tax day is tomorrow, and with the end of tax season comes a new round of scams. KENS 5 consumer reporter Nicole Kahn has the red flags to watch for.
Watch out for questionable tax preparers if you're in a rush to file. They might just be taking your personal information to commit identity theft.
If they don't want to sign the bottom of your tax return with their tax preparer ID number, that is a red flag.
You'll want to take advantage of as many credits as possible to reduce your tax bill. But check that you qualify. Some scammers are promoting the employee retention credit.
That was made for small businesses back during the pandemic that would continue to pay their employees after they shut down. It only ran through December of 2021, so it is no longer in effect, but that's not stopping scammers from using it.
Be wary if you're told your refund was recalculated. You'll need to give your banking information to get the extra money, but it may be a scammer trying to get into your account to take money.
So if they can steal from you now, during tax season when you're getting the return, they're going to be in a much better spot than at, other times throughout the year for most people.
Think twice before you pay someone to help you negotiate a big tax bill. Try asking the IRS for a payment plan yourself instead.
One of the things that's pretty common in the tax filing and really tax world are people that want you to pay for a service to do something that you can really do on your own.
No, the IRS will never call, text, or email you. Instead, you'll be contacted by mail if there's a problem with your tax return. If you're worried there's an issue, call the IRS directly to check. Nicole Kahn, KENS 5.
Well, like I said, the IRS, it will never call you. And again, when it comes to doing taxes, now again, these clips, they're a little old, but the same application is coming to us next month in January. Now, let's go to another one. Fair use. Fair use.
Today, the head of Oklahoma's largest teachers union called for an end to the walkout that has forced thousands of students to miss 9 days of school. The teachers wanted a $10,000 a year raise. They got about $6,100. Teachers from Arizona are now threatening to walk off the job. 4 large wildfires are burning in Oklahoma. One of them is said to be growing fast and furious tonight. State officials are warning of historic fire conditions. Close to triple-digit temperatures and low humidity. Evacuations are underway in the Northwest. At least 1,000 acres have burned so far. Bill Cosby faced 2 more accusers in court today. They were the 4th and 5th women to testify this week. Both said Cosby.
Correction, I apologize for that one. That one was supposed to be about scam targets. So, again, just so I can review everything for you, here's what you need to watch out for.
Ian, thank you so much. Well, tax day just a couple of weeks away, and right now the IRS is warning of several scams targeting taxpayers. The agency calls them the Dirty Dozen. So Brian Watson is a special agent for IRS criminal investigation. He's joining us live in studio because these are really important things for taxpayers to watch out for, and we have to start here. There's a lot of really bad information floating around on social media. What do you want people to know?
Well, if you're getting tax advice from social media, you need to start looking somewhere else. This is something we weren't dealing with years ago, but now everyone gets their news and information from social media. So don't go there for tax advice.
So people are scrolling through and videos and posts are popping up on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. What are those posts telling them?
So it's encouraging people to use tax software to create a fake W-2 with a lot of income and a lot of tax withholding. And then you're encouraged to take that W-2 to file a tax return and get a huge refund. And it may work, but then the IRS is going to come try to track that money down, or you're going to get a penalty for filing a frivolous return.
That's a bad deal. You don't want the IRS knocking on the door.
No.
Because you do have to prove these things. You can't just say, I created landscaping business XYZ. You have to have all the documents in order.
Right, and the IRS does some matching with W-2. So if you submit a W-2 that it's not already in the system, it's going to get rejected. And then, yeah, it's just not worth it. Don't take the bait.
So scammers are also trying to just grab our personal information. How are they doing this?
So identity theft, and they're very creative. They're always trying new ways. And one of them is scammers offering to help people set up an IRS online account. Well, an online account exists. It's a very useful tool for taxpayers to have, but you can do it yourself at home. It doesn't cost any money. The scammers are just trying to get you to sign up. They're just going to take your personal information, use it for open up credit cards, maybe identity theft. They may even sell your information to someone else. So if you get an email or text message about an IRS online account, delete it.
It's off to the races then for that scammer if they have that information, because the information you would need to input for an online IRS account is kind of the holy grail of personal information.
It's your money and your personal information are two things you need to guard.
We have to talk about shady tax preparers too. You encounter this all the time. This has a lot to do with a lot of the investigations that you are constantly working on. What are these shady tax preparers doing?
So the small minority of them, what they do is they'll base their fee on a percentage of your refund. You don't want to do that because built-in incentive for them to pad the return. We see them promising huge refunds, and they haven't even seen your information. And lastly, we see them creating fake businesses to create net losses that give you a bigger refund.
And one final one. We have a dirty dozen list. We only can get through a few today. Email and text scams. What do we need to watch out for? There are some key phrases that might pop up.
So you'll see an email or text message promising or saying click here for your refund that you forgot to get several years ago, or your account's been frozen and click on this link to free it up. Well, here's the key. The IRS does not send text messages. The IRS is not going to email you.
Such valuable information. There's a list of maybe some of the phrases you might see. Unusual activity report or solutions to restore your account. Thank you so much for this great information. Hopefully taxpayers can have a smooth rest of the tax season.
Again, I just gave it to you in the article. The video summed up everything. And when tax time comes, that's something else is going to happen as well. Besides the shady tax preparers, I'm going to get into some of these shady car dealers as well. Let's see if I can get to this one, because everything is online now. So you need to protect yourself while doing your taxes and even using your credit card online. Again, this video is for educational purposes only. Fair use.
Only a few days left in this year's tax season.
And if you still haven't done yours and you're planning to do them online, 2 News Oklahoma problem solver Pete Knutson has an important warning.
We met Shayna Clapper and Ms. Hazelnut a few days ago. As they walked around the park, Shayna told us how she steers clear of the seemingly countless tax scams.
Tired of getting text message scams.
The best way to get through all of those tax season scams unscathed, in her opinion,
And I feel really confident about it.
is to use a trusted software.
And it's very easy. I go by step.
That's proved itself over time.
I've used it so many years and I never had any issues.
Still, experts say you can't be too careful. Last year, according to cybersecurity firm Aura, 92% of tax returns were filed online, and the IRS identified $5.7 billion in tax fraud.
We spend all this time and effort protecting our physical homes and our physical dwellings, and yet our digital homes are full of trapdoors.
Zulfikar Rahman, chief scientist at Aura, says step one is to know who you're dealing with.
The IRS will never contact you out of the blue via email or social media or phone, etc. That's already a red flag on its own.
Rahman says the IRS will always contact you through a more formal type of communication, like a letter sent in the mail.
In the digital world, my information, my identity is my social security number. It's my date of birth. It's my address.
Which is why the IRS is serious about warning honest taxpayers all the time, but especially in the last-minute rush of tax season.
Thieves are constantly working to steal people's identity and personal data so they can use it to fraudulently file tax returns and claim refund money that isn't theirs.
A warning Shayna takes seriously.
I'm not too stressed about the scams.
After all, Shayna says, she's always on guard and determined not to be led around by scammers. Pete Knutson, 2 News Oklahoma, Problem Solvers.
And Pete did some additional checking for us on ways to protect yourself from those online tax scams.
Now, cybersecurity experts say that consumers really should apply for an electronic filing PIN number with the IRS for increased safety. Avoid using the same passwords across multiple websites and applications. Limit the number of companies that receive your personal information. And always protect your electronic devices with firewalls and antivirus software.
If you ever need help, you can always call our problem solvers at 918-748-1502. You can also send us an email at problemsolvers@kjrh.com.
And when it comes to your taxes, yes, you have to protect yourself. Now, what I featured in this video, I featured not just the tax preparers, but there are other ways that scammers are getting your tax information. Now, going back to the tax preparation businesses, these are individuals that are out there, and I'm going to say this, and it's probably going to hit some people hard. You know, some of the women who come on Kendra G's videos, they talk about having their own business. Some of these individuals could be the scammers that you're talking about. So they don't know anything about taxes, but what they know how to do is take your money. And generally, when you have a company or a business, there has to be something about that business you need to know about. What are their services? What's the number of their business? Every business has what we call a TIN number. Does the business do W-2s? Does the business utilize credit cards and debit cards? So you see some of these people, they're taking their taxes, the people who are doing it from home, saying they have a business, the business might not be legitimate. And if you have a business as a tax preparer, it's got to be registered with the government, or else your business is fraudulent. And not only that, your business has to be registered in the state that you reside. Now, here's what you need to know to see if you have a legitimate tax preparer. If they have a business, there are going to be two different numbers, ID numbers for your business. There's going to be one for the feds and one for the state that you reside. Because when they collect taxes, and when you do W-2 forms, well, if somebody is an employee working for you, that federal ID number and that state ID number is going to be on that W-2 form. Also, does that business have a logo? This is what you need to ask about when it comes to businesses. But a lot of people aren't going to tell you this. Do they understand the tax codes? See, a lot of people think because they get a W-2, W-4 forms, they think because they hear certain terminology, they know about doing taxes. No, they're laws. And before I go, just wanted to tell you, you need to protect yourself. Get some help. My first point of contact or point of reference, it's going to be a CPA. They're accountants. They can go in and work with your taxes as well. Your tax preparers, everybody has a number. So you want to go with somebody that has a number. Now, if all that fails, let's say you don't want to use a tax preparer, my honest opinion, learn how to do the software online yourself. Then you won't need any H&R Blocks, Jackson Hewitts. You won't even have to go to tax preparers. See what the software, because most of us are filing our taxes online because we get our information back faster. Again, as you saw, about 90% of our taxes, they're online. And something else, back in the olden days, we had to wait for the IRS to deliver our checks through the mail. We don't have to worry about snail mail anymore. Everything comes from direct deposit. And again, the biggest thing you need to know too about some of these tax businesses, make sure you give your direct deposit information. Don't let them use their direct deposit information, because they already have your information, so they can use their direct deposit information under your name to file your taxes and steal your money by having the funds deposited into their account. And once your money is gone, it will never be traced, especially if the business is a cash business. Why? Because cash not be traced. And that's my commentary for this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. If you like what I just presented, please comment, share, and subscribe. And if you're looking for some STEM content, I'll be doing a STEM video tomorrow from my other channel, the QCIS channel. On that channel, I give you a daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and math. And let me change up a little bit. After I record all of my videos on YouTube, I then put my videos up on my Twitter account. So that's where you can find them. If you don't want to find me on YouTube, you'll find me on my Twitter page for the 401 Talk Zone radio show and the QCIS channel. And because the QCIS channel is an educational channel, also find that channel on my LinkedIn page. And this is the season for Capricorns. I'm a Capricorn. My birthday is next Tuesday. Welcome to the best sign in the world, numero uno, the Capricornus. And in the end, as I move on, always be blessed for what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. Know that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. If it doesn't apply, let it fly. But if the shoe fits, wear it. If you don't like the shoe, change it. And once again, thank you for listening to this edition for 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. Till next time, my name is Leon Jones. I want you all to have a wonderful and gracious evening. God bless you. I'm out.